There we go. Okay, well, welcome to the District 38 Candidate Showcase. As I believe everyone knows, we're going to have our annual business meeting this Saturday, April 15th at 9 a.m. virtually. And this is our opportunity to learn more about our candidates who are running for the elected positions. We only have one contested race this year, and that is going to be for Club Growth Director. That is where we're going to focus the bulk of the time, 30 minutes, interviewing, learning more about our two candidates. And I will list in alphabetical order: Ann Golden, DTM, and Michelle Westgate, DTM. Under the rules that one should be sequestered in a breakout room while the other is being questioned, both candidates have agreed to stay in the main session. I will alternate asking the same question to both candidates. I will start with Ann because Golden comes before Westgate, but in round two, Michelle will be asked the first question and we will alternate between the two. So each person is fair, gets a fair opportunity. This is closely related to table topics. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer the question. The timer will indicate green at 1:30 seconds, yellow at 1:45, at red at 2 minutes, and at 2 minutes, the speaker will be muted. Any questions from either of the candidates? Okay, so I will start with Ann. One of the toughest things facing the district right now is the shrinking number of clubs. What would you do to help keep the existing clubs around, to assist them in surviving and moving on to the next session? Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that question. Our existing clubs are vital to the district's success. And it's important that we do what we can to keep those clubs around. And that means, as Club Growth Director, more communication with the officers of that club, personally attending their meetings as the Club Growth Director. I'm experiencing such a situation in one of my own clubs right now. And I don't want to lose the members. So one of the options is, yes, you lose a club, but you don't lose the membership, because basically club and membership is synonymous for me. It's important to retain the members and to give them an opportunity of another club in which they can join. The other option is reusing that charter for another organization that may be interested in becoming a club, but don't have the 20 members yet. Have them join that club, get a feel for how club meetings are run, and then down the road, you can transition that charter or have them rename the club. And that's one of the options that I'm considering for a current club that I am involved in. Thank you for that question, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Michelle, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, one of the greatest challenges facing the district right now is the shrinking number of clubs. How would you help and encourage existing clubs that are struggling to survive? What assistance would you give them?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and fellow Toastmasters. It's great to be here, and you won't expect much of a unique answer on this question. We have to get our members excited. That's really what it comes down to. And the job of the Club Growth Director involves putting together a team, putting together people who help, and I'm very collaborative. I believe that we should work together as a team to reach out to every single club in the district to pull together some analytics that'll help us understand why our members are leaving, to market. We need to market more to clubs that and companies that haven't even thought about adding a Toastmasters Club. There are so many organizations out there, and we need to do a lot more analyzation of those clubs and that data. Mr. Moderator.
Well, thank you. So what would you do? Toastmasters has a reputation of having an older membership base, and I think some of the statistics do that. What would you do to attract the younger market? In the suggested question, it has an age range. I'm not going to touch it, but just a younger demographic.
I have a son who is in that younger demographic. I have some members in my club who are in that younger demographic. I think that we have to get excited. We have to understand what is it that's bringing them, what is it that's turning them away. If we don't dive into the weeds and understand each of our members and who they are and what values Toastmasters is bringing to them, how can we understand how to bring them in the first place? We need to do some work, get out there and talk to people. Maybe we need to go to some career fairs at the colleges and talk to members there, people who need to understand that this is something that would be valuable to them. There are so many different places that we could go to pull in new members who are younger. We also need to understand how to use social media better. I don't think that we've been using it to the best of our ability, and it's something that I've heard repeated over the past few years, especially with the pandemic. We didn't reach out to people as well as we probably could have, and using some of those tools would help us be more effective in reaching those people who are in that younger dynamic. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
And same question, what would you do to help Toastmasters, and in particular District 38, reach a younger demographic?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that question. That's an excellent question that's been hard to answer across districts for the past several years. Different districts have used TikTok, Instagram, because that seems to be the social media outlet for the younger generation. What I find from my experience is Meetup does work, but what attracts them is the fun meetings. When you get them to come to your meeting is to have a fun, engaging meeting. That's what gets them there. That's what gets them to stay and come back. I've recently experienced that with one of my clubs that is on Meetup. And by reaching out to the contacts that have contacted us on Meetup and sending a message to them, letting them know and thanking them, basically using the script that TI uses for the email respondents to inquiries and adjusting it to the individual, reaching out with that personal touch and letting them know that we'd be excited to see them at our meeting and give them the meeting links to our websites. Now, this is for a community club. Corporate clubs, it's a little bit different. They don't use Meetup as much, but I think it's something that they should start doing. And so especially the open clubs to bring in the younger generation. The other thing is, I agree with what Michelle was saying about going out to the college campuses. I think we need to do a better job with our marketing of that. But again, it's not easy. We can do all that. We can have an open house or whatever and hold it on TCU campus and nobody shows up. The important thing is to get them to the meeting and let them see how much fun we have and have them come back. And that's how you attract them. Follow up on your leads and spread word of mouth. We all have younger relatives. Let's get working on them. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Now, here comes one of my favorite questions, and especially as a past leader. So do not put any kid gloves on. We're all Toastmasters, we can take it. What will you do differently than past leaders?
Is that my question, Mr. Moderator?
Yes, I'm sorry, Ann, yes.
Well, you know, they're hard shoes to fill of past leaders. Everybody brings their own uniqueness to each of the positions, and we each have our own ideas. It doesn't mean one idea is better than the other. but I developed a theme in my email, and it's listen to our members' voices to improve our Toastmasters community. And basically, I want to improve the communication. I would reach out to not only the club officers, but members. I think we need to have a daily communication. I like to do a town hall type of meeting with the members and the officers, maybe on a quarterly basis, and touch base with them and see what their struggles are. That's what I like to do. And especially the struggling clubs. There's some of our, and I mean this lovingly, so please don't take it the wrong way, but they're our most stubborn clubs. And we need to really work with them and let them see the light and the Toastmasters juice and have them drink it and realize it's more than just table topics, and that there are ways that we can help you if you're willing to work with us. And so it's communication. Communication is the key. And I want to get down in that ground roots level, because that's what I love doing best. And I think that's how we can get to the members and the officers. And that's my thing. Outreach plan, having different committees, for example, a speechcraft workshop, let's have them. Different type of workshops, let's offer that to the district and bring in people so that they can learn the different things that they need to do. And what's out there, a branding committee. Yes, do you know Toastmaster has a brand that they want you to use in meetings? Let's bring that to their attention, and let's have a new resource. Make members aware of the resources that are out there. They're just a few. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And Michelle, what would you do differently than the past leaders?
What I would do differently from the past leaders is I would be more responsive. I've heard this year from many people that they're not getting responses to their emails, to phone calls left. They're not seeing the leaders at meetings. They're not seeing the leaders out and about. They're not getting to know them like they would prefer to. It's important that as leaders, we connect with all the people in our district. And I'm not saying one person can go shake every single person's hand that's in the district, but we should be using the tools available to us. We are supposed to be forming committees as the club growth director. We have chairs, but it sounds like the chairs are just doing things by themselves and not using the tool of a committee. A committee is something that breaks things down and makes it easier for everyone to get involved. If you have a 1 hour project and everybody takes 5 minutes of that project, it's an easier project. Why can't we do that as teams, as committees? That's the whole point in Toastmasters, is that we are working together in unity. We are many voices, but one team. And I say we continue doing that, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And both of your answers led me to this next question. One of the challenges is faced Toastmasters, as long as I've been involved, is recruiting members to be active in whether it's district leadership or serve on these committees. You usually wind up seeing, we joke about it as being the usual suspects. How do you suggest recruiting new people to take on these new roles? Michelle, you're first this round.
Thank you for that question. Getting people to get involved takes an ask. First off, we need to understand what are the skills, what are the knowledge bases that we have in our membership. I think that every club should be giving out a flyer, a handout that has the members, the brand new members and the existing members. Fill it out, say what they know how to do and what they're willing to share. Are they willing to be mentors to other people in the district? I think that those people, those surveys are going to help us to identify people for specific roles that really interest them. We need to connect with people, and it's the same message. Every answer is connect to people. If we're not talking to each other, if we're not working together to solve the problem of where this is going, where are we getting these volunteers, then how are we ever going to move forward? We have to connect with our members. If I go to a club and they don't know why a member left their club, that means they weren't communicating with that member. They need to reach out to those members, and they really need to get to know what it is that their members are strong at and love doing, because that's going to help the district overall. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And same question, how would you go about recruiting members to get involved in district-wide activities, whether it's a district area director, division director, or serving on committee roles?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That is definitely a table topics question. Anybody been at a table topics meeting? You asked a table topic question. How many people raised their hand to answer that question? Well, it's the same with leadership. You can ask and ask and ask. They lack self-confidence. I'm a perfect example. I was 1 year in Toastmasters when the committee at ETS came and approached me to be president. I said, yeah, you're nuts, not me. And yet look at me today. So it goes into the grassroots and it goes into the officers. Those officers back in 2016 were so invested in the ETS corporate club that they were looking all year for candidates. And it starts at the grassroots level. And it starts with nurturing those members from the beginning of the year and talking to them. It's not easy to step up for a leadership role beyond the club, even to get them to be club officers. And I think it's about educating them and letting them know it's not such an overwhelming job. If I could do it, I don't have a master's degree. I'm not a vice president of a company. I'm not a training manager of a company. And I've had success as a leader in Toastmasters. This is the perfect opportunity to practice your leadership skills. Guess what? If you fail, the company's not going to lose millions of dollars. Nobody cares. They're just here to pump you up and show you a better way. And you have mentors to support you. So let's start talking positive to these members from when they come into the club. And I think it needs to be a monthly discussion in our meetings. That's what I think we need to do. And I think maybe we need to start having outreach town hall meetings to educate them on what these different roles are. It doesn't start with the ask. It starts with getting to know the member first and finding out what their strengths are and encouraging them like I was encouraged. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Ann. Next question is, I am empowering you to change one thing about Toastmasters. You have complete control. You can change one thing and one thing only about Toastmasters. What would it be?
Is that my question first?
Yes.
Awesome. I love that question. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So, haven't all figured it out yet, but the one thing I would change about Toastmaster is how Pathways is designed. I love the fact that they focused it on corporate scenarios. I think that's very important. But we forgot about the advanced manuals. We need to incorporate that. We need to develop a business program of Pathways, a personal growth program that people may want to create two different. Why should one who is interested in business and one who could care less about team collaboration in business, but wants to team collaborate in Toastmasters, create two different sets of paths? The focus shouldn't be the same. And this is where we lose members. They're not, those that are not interested in leadership or communication, as they say, communication skills, little do they know in Toastmasters. One hand washes the other, and you can't help but turn out to be a leader if you're in Toastmasters, but we'll find that out later. But in spite of that, what you do is those that are interested in leadership have that path focused in leadership and business. Throw a little bit of it in the personal side, but make it fun for members to want to participate in Pathways. That's what we need to do, is to change how Pathways is given out to members. And I think that would re-energize members, people that want to do radio talk show hosts, or want to do sales pitches, or reading to inform, those type of speeches. I loved them when I was going for my bronze and silver and leadership. Let's bring them back into the focus, and let's have the business path for those that want to do business. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And Michelle, same question. What is one thing you would change about Toastmasters?
Would it be a surprise if I said Pathways? Pathways is the thing that comes up the most. When we talk to our members, they are unhappy with Pathways. There are not enough options and opportunities in Pathways to meet the needs of all of our members. And some of our members still need those printed manuals. They don't know how to use the internet. They don't want to use the internet. They're on the internet all day long in meetings and having to go in and decipher, because Basecamp is quite cryptic at times. They have to decipher what it is that they're trying to get out of Basecamp. What is that message? What am I working towards? And every single path seems to have some of the same projects. We should have a level 1 that is just standard. Once you complete your level 1, you don't have to repeat level 1 again. You move on to level 2 and up, and you will focus on the areas that you want to focus on. So I would never have to give another level 1 speech again, because I've already done it. And there are other projects that relate to those things. I think that Pathways is the thing that needs to change, if anything, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you. And then this will be the last question. Then each of the candidates will have 2 minutes for closing remarks. And this is Michelle gets the first question. With the impending increase in semi-annual dues, how do you respond to members who want to know why they should continue to be members, or how the membership benefits improving to justify the increase?
That's a great question, and it's going to come up. I think there is a little bit of confusion about that being released at the same time that they changed the website to self-pay. I think all of this is overwhelming to people, and they should have taken it a step at a time. But how to answer that question and how to respond to people is that you have to talk about the values that they're getting. If they were to go take this as a course in college, it's going to cost them a lot more. And this is the same answer that probably anybody that's on this meeting is going to say. It's cost effective. It is going to give me the values that I need without having to go to a college and work my way up till I get to the point where I'm allowed to take the classes that you are studying in Toastmasters. You have to get all the basics out of the way in college. That takes time. With Toastmasters, you're diving right in at level 1. You're getting those basics out of the way. You're moving on to the areas that you're going to study, and you're making it your own. You are finding your own way, and that is valuable. On top of that, the value also increases because of the membership and the people that you're interacting with. I go to networking events all the time for work. When I go to a networking event, I might be paying anywhere from $65 to $100 every single event. That doesn't make any sense when I can come to a Toastmasters meeting and network right there. I say that there's value in Toastmasters. The money is worth it. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And same question. With the impending increase in semi-annual dues, how do you respond to members who want to know why they should continue to be members, or how membership benefits are going to be improved to justify the increase?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That is a tough question, and it is a tough sell for me personally. But the answer is, Toastmasters is invaluable. Toastmasters has changed my life for the better. From when I started back in 2015, the growth and development. 7 years ago, I would have never seen myself in this position. I had no confidence, didn't know how to speak publicly. Leader, I thought I knew what a leader meant. You can go to a Dale Carnegie class or a 3-week class or a month class, and that's all you get. Toastmasters, we build communities. That's what clubs are. I wish they would change that from clubs to members. You know, club DCP. No, it's not about the club. It's about the members. It's the members who are successful that make clubs successful because they are the club. And it's a community, and that's where you build your networking. That's where you grow. That's where you get the support. There is no organization out there like Toastmasters in a community that's going to support you. Leaders who are DTMs and have moved on to higher TI still come back to club meetings and help their members. It's well worth your value. You don't receive training in the real world. You know the business training we used to, I'm dating myself. You know the business training we used to get 30 years ago? You come into a job and they train you for a job. That doesn't happen in the real world anymore. They want you to come in with the knowledge and the know-how and figure it out for yourself. That's where Toastmasters helps you. Don't devalue yourself by thinking $60 is too much to spend on yourself. You are well worth the investment, and that's where you should put your money, in yourself and in Toastmasters. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And okay, and you have 2 minutes to any closing comments that you would like to make. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, district leaders, for being here, fellow Toastmasters, and mostly you are all friends, because that's what Toastmasters is. It's a community of friends. And I'm going to repeat what I've already said. I exemplify what Toastmasters can do for individuals, becoming a better version of myself. Toastmasters is about striving towards the best you, the best club, and the best district. As the club growth director, I will focus on our members, on you, to improve retention, members' growth, and most importantly, the membership experience, because that is what retains your members, and that's what brings members in when we have fun meetings. How many here have been to meetings where you're like, oh my God, I can't wait till this is over, or there's nobody speaking, or we can't find an evaluator and we're into the meeting. We all have last minute filling roles. I understand that. But once the meeting starts, what is the atmosphere in your club meeting? And if it is fun and engaging and members are laughing, you will retain them and you will gain new members. Just try it sometime. You just might like it if you laugh at a meeting. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay. Thank you. And Michelle, you have 2 minutes for closing statements.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and fellow Toastmasters and friends. I want to thank you for being here and listening to everyone who's going to be speaking today. We all appreciate each and every one of you. Your dedication and commitment to show up today is remarkable. You, all of you, you are my inspiration. You are the reason why I continue to do more, and I keep doing more, and I'm going to keep doing more. I've heard your comments and your questions, many of them before this meeting. I deeply, deeply care about each and every one of you and your concerns and your hopes for what comes next. Today, we had topics such as shrinking clubs, fun meetings, should people stay, should they go, past leaders, recruiting volunteers, outreaching with town halls, pathways, and cost increases. There are so many things to talk about, and there's never enough time to talk about them. When I am elected next Saturday to serve you as the next District 38 Club Growth Director, my job will begin at that moment. I'm not waiting until July 1st to dive in. I will take a deeper look and study some of those analytics I talked about. I plan to talk to many of you about what's been going on in your neck of the woods. That's important. As with everything I've done in my life, my desire is to do more to help you, and I want to do it all better. I will be here for you. Without all of you, we don't have a district. I would not be running for this position. Feel free to reach out to me with any of your questions before next Saturday. I'll send out another email before the election. Thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you soon, Mr. Chair.
Well, let's hear it for both candidates. And we are lucky in District 38, we have 2 qualified candidates, either of which would excel at the position. Unfortunately, only one of them can win. And for that, I am sorry, but it is important that you get your vote in. So to be eligible to vote, you need to be a member of the district council, which is, I'm going to forget some roles, but it's primarily the club presidents, VPEs, area, division directors, the trio, and the top 6 plus myself. So if you have not registered to vote, please do. The deadline is Thursday, the 13th. I believe it's 5 or 6 p.m. So please, 5 p.m. Okay. I couldn't remember what we decided on. It will not be extended. I repeat, it will not be extended. According to administration manager Dale Wallace, we have met quorum, so the deadline will not be. So if you come in Saturday morning and say, why didn't I get my ballot? It's because you do not register in time. We will be sending out test vote ahead of time, but make sure that you have your voice registered because we do have 2 qualified candidates. More information about them is available on the district website. So ladies, once again, thank you very much. Next, we are going to move into the division director races. And all of the roles are uncontested. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of the candidates a question. And earlier today, I picked the random order of who I was going to ask the question to. I may not ask the same question to all the candidates. They will be similar, but you know, I just from last year we asked the candidates the same answer or same question, and by the 8th one, we had run out of all possible answers. So this is going to be a little bit different, or in some cases, the question may solicit different responses from different people. So at this time, Division G, Michelle Brown, you are first up. So we will ask you the question, having served as area director, what would you do differently than your current division director? And do not mention them by name.
Absolutely. Thank you, moderator. And as a Brown that married a Brown, I'm used to going first. As a division director, how would I do things? Was the question differently? What was
how would you do things differently, or how would you use your experiences that you learned from them and to do your job?
Specific to absolutely. That is an awesome question for me, because being the area director for the past 2 years in Division G, I have learned just the greatest amounts of really communication has been used several times already, but over communicating, making sure you understand what people need, meet them where they need that, and ensure that your area directors know what they need to do. I don't know that I would do it differently. I am a little bit more technologically interested in using tools and using my tools. So I might go out a little further than we've done from a communication standpoint. That would definitely be one area. And then specific to how to promote, one of my biggest charges, I feel, in all the area clubs, but I'm sure in every division, but I see such a difference between the corporate clubs and the community clubs, and finding ways to give them what they need, again, meeting them where they are to keep their membership. Exactly how to do that, I'm not sure, but getting the area directors more involved and communicating across, sharing community club successes and corporate club successes. I think that might be a helpful place to begin. And there's not a lot I could do to improve, because I have had quite a learning in the past 2 years. So thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the question.
Thank you. And Division B candidate, Mike Theory, you have the next question. There you are. Okay. A similar question, but what experiences would you use as area director? What would you bring your experience as area director? What would that bring to being a division director?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. When I look back at my area director experience, one thing that really forced me to do was step out of my comfort zone, in the sense that I needed to really visit these other clubs and get a better understanding about what their makeup is, where the challenges are, and how I can help. Up until this point, I found myself very siloed with my home club of Princeton Toastmasters. But after becoming area director, I realized that there are 4 additional clubs in that area that I needed to immerse myself with and get a better understanding of. And that's going to be my exact role with Division B. In Division B, I am unfamiliar with it all. And I think that's going to be great, because I'm going to be bringing this new perspective to the entire division. But that's going to start with me taking what I've learned as area director and reaching out and looking out for different things within these clubs as I become more interested in getting to know them more, getting to know the area directors more. It's going to be a great experience that I'm looking forward to, but it's going to start with me taking those steps to really make the effort to get to know this uncharted waters I'm going to be experiencing. And fortunately, as area director this current year, I had a glimpse of that with my clubs, and I'll do that with these upcoming areas and their clubs as well. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And just one administrative note is, if you're watching carefully, you may see some people popping into this meeting late or leaving early. We're trying to work with like 8 different people, or actually 12 people's schedules. So this is why the format was done in the order it was done. So don't read anything more into that, other than, as Toastmasters, we're very busy people. So next up will be Brian Hauser, running for Division A director. Brian, this is your 2nd year as division director. If you had a do-over, how would you, well, you do have a do-over. What changes will you implement you learned from your first year of experiences?
Right, thank you for that question. I don't know if there's anything necessarily I would want to do over, but I have learned some interesting things along the way this year. And one of those is how challenging it can be to find the right method and tempo of communication. And, I've just been really surprised at how you have to find, is it email, is it phone, is it texting, is it some other method to really get everyone's attention and make sure that they're paying attention to the opportunities that we're trying to put out there for everyone. So that's one of the reasons I'm especially excited to have a shot at doing this for another year, is I feel like I'm just now starting to get into a groove with that aspect and learning all the intricacies of how everyone likes to be communicated with, and building those relationships is key, and that it really takes time. And I think I underestimated the amount of time and effort that takes. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to build on what I've already built this year.
Thank you. And Division F, Chris Velasco, since you're repeating also, it is going to be the same question. What will you do differently in your second year that you didn't do in your first year?
Thank you, Joe. One thing that I learned as a division director is you have to hit the ground running, maybe even before July 1st. It'll be easier this time, my second year, because I know the clubs, I have the contacts, and I can start reaching out right after election day and keeping the momentum going. As Brian did point out, connecting with some of the clubs are very difficult. I've encountered clubs with a lot of challenges, and they're all very different. Their personalities are very different, and the way they run their clubs are different. Getting an earlier start on everything will, I can continue the work that I've been doing, but if I could go back and do over, I would have started right after election season. But my goal for this upcoming year is to really get out, attend more of the in-person meetings, because more of my clubs are now hybrid or in-person, and I want to encourage that. I want to encourage the interaction. And I also want to see what clubs with that low membership number, if they have a coach, great, but do they also need mentors? Sometimes they don't have enough bandwidth to be the club officer, run the meetings, everything else. If I can get mentors from outside of the club within their area, within the division, to help them out, that may give them a little jump start that's needed. That's what I am going to focus on next.
Thank you. And next up is Division H, Ruth Presley. Oh, there you are. Okay, your question is going to be, we've struggled with recruiting area directors from time to time. How do you propose recruiting and training area directors for this coming year?
For this coming year, recruiting area directors would be getting more hands-on, getting into the clubs and asking who would like to be an area director, what the benefits are, and give a realistic description of what an area director does, rather than, well, you only have to visit the clubs twice and you turn in your report. It's more to it than that. And I think it'll be easier to recruit because they'll hear exactly what's required of them, and then they can make an informed decision rather than getting in there and saying, oh, wait a minute, they said 2 meetings and a report. That would be my goal, would be to give a more realistic view and visit the clubs and ask who would like to do this job. And I've already started with my own club.
Thank you. And Bob Rosenberg, Division D Director Candidate, you're up next. Okay. Bob, what have you learned from your past leadership roles that you will bring to the Division Director role?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. It's an interesting question. I have to tell you, when I was area director for 2 years, it was pretty much throughout COVID. So we didn't get much in the way of in-person visitation. Prior to everything closing down, we did some in-person things, and then one club slowly opened up as COVID was going on. So it was really a unique experience to actually get together in person as opposed to Zoom. We are challenged at this point to reach out to the clubs, and I noticed you didn't have Moments of Truth as one of the items this year to qualify for district bucks or whatever it was. And our club recently did a Moments of Truth, and it revealed some weaknesses, and we do have a strong club, but yet newer members were not getting the level of support that they need as newer members. And the Moments of Truth opened our eyes, and we learned a little bit about the importance of recognition, particularly of the newer members joining the club and giving a little celebration, a little ceremony, making them feel welcomed and what they can do. What I would like to see happen, and I'm not quite sure how to make this happen, but I really think we need to figure out how to have the area directors get more in touch with the individual clubs and actually figure out what the why of the club is, what the why of the members are. What is it that they're looking to get out of Toastmasters? Why did they join Toastmasters? And the more we can get in touch with what it is they're looking to get out of Toastmasters, I think the easier it's going to be to get them involved above and beyond the club level. And I'm hoping I can play a role in that. I'm not.
Okay, sorry, we're in a strict 2-minute, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Division C candidate Dietzi Araba. Your Division C has probably the largest concentration of corporate clubs, and they have been hit the hardest because of COVID in the last couple of years. What steps do you recommend in helping reestablish corporate clubs?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for that question, moderator. Yes, I have been in this division since COVID hit. And one of the things I've seen was like we're losing clubs at an accelerating rate. I absolutely don't have any idea why it's happening. But one of the things I've seen is like people are taking a step back. Companies are saying it's not priority right now to develop their employees. And I don't think that should be the answer for what's going on right now. Because when we first of all started this little box in our company club, one of the things I can never forget was like the person said, I'm so happy to see other faces rather than just the faces in my house or just my family. So corporate clubs right now, I don't know if they know, they're losing, because one of the things that is happening is like, we just come into that little cubicle or come into this frame and just sit by ourselves. We're not communicating with each other as we used to before COVID. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to communicate that way anymore. So one of the things I have found this year is that corporate clubs do not really know how much Toastmasters has expanded from the paper, I don't know what all the other things are that they had before. But one of my area directors was actually able to enter into one of these corporate clubs and show them that Toastmasters has revamped itself. So I'm hoping that one of the things that can happen this year is that they will allow us into their doors. This corporate club would allow us to come in and let them.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I believe that concludes all of the division directors the first round. Did I miss any of the division director candidates on here? Okay. So we're going to move into round 2, and this will go in different order. So we're going to start with Brian, Division A. So it's come up a lot is, what are your feelings about returning to in-person training and contests?
Simply, I think it's time. And excuse me, this is something I've been thinking about lately. I was glad to hear one of the earlier candidates mention that there are a lot of clubs that are finally moving to in-person because I'm not seeing as much of that as I think we should. I think a lot of clubs have kind of gotten a little too comfortable in the virtual world. And so one of the things that I think we should focus on, put on our list of things to talk about at club officer training this year is how clubs can make that transition to back to in-person or even better hybrid. Because I think a lot of them are just not sure how to do it, or they need a little added motivation to do it. So you know, there's some advantages, we'll all agree, with the virtual world. And so I think it's probably best to not do a complete switchover, but to kind of offer both options. So I think for club officer training this year, I'd like to see some in-person as well as some virtual options, and encourage people as much as possible to try to get back to the in-person. Try it, you might like it, especially for those who have never done that. And the same for contests. I heard that a lot this year, that people really missed having those in-person contests. And I think a lot of people have kind of opted out from the contest simply for that reason, because they're not eager to participate in the virtual world. So again, my answer is yes, let's get back to that, at least on a trial basis, or to, you know, have that as an option.
Thank you. And Aditi, you are next. So your question is, this is going to be your second year as a division director. You cannot run again for the position next year. How are you planning on looking for successors, people to run for the Division C? What steps do you take to, you know, essentially replace yourself next year?
So this year already, I've already have people reaching out to me to be area directors. And I'm hoping, because I've seen so much talent in my division, that I can encourage them and collaborate with them and let them know that being that I can do this, they can do it better too, or they can step into it and I can walk along with them. It's not something that you can say, oh, I can just do. No, it's a learning process. And like every other person has spoken, this platform, this Toastmasters platform, is where we grow. So if I see somebody, like I've already seen a few people and I started encouraging them, I don't want to mention names, but I hope when I suggest to them, like I need somebody to step into this role, they'll be happy to. So I'm hoping like this year I start dropping hints, giving them suggestions, and letting them know there's this position that is going to be open and is in this division. It's my position, and I would love them to please step in, and I will be able, I'll be right there to walk them through it. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you. And next is going to be Division G candidate, Michelle. Michelle, one of the things we've struggled with as leadership is how to communicate with members over the years. What methods do you suggest, you know, communicating, letting the members know of district activities? How would you handle this?
Thank you, moderator. Specifically for members, having that area director connection to the clubs, not just the officers, but the members of those clubs. I think having the area directors passing that information along. I will say in the past 2 years, the District 38 website has been amazing, but as an area director, I pushed it. And that was really helpful. And those district events were there. But if there was something specific that was division related, then that would be on me as Division G director, and I would need to figure out how to communicate it. Again, the difference between corporate clubs and community clubs, that can be sometimes a challenge. So making sure that we could communicate that out. Now, there are a couple different platforms that we could use, and I would love to explore that. And I'm not sure what the answer would be, but having somewhere for them to go, but then having that back end of communicating it, making sure, following up and making sure they know about it, and over communication from the area directors. That would be my answer to that, moderator, sir.
Okay, thank you. So next is going to be Division D, Bob. Okay. Okay. Sorry. We're now moving the calendar 1 year from now. What would it take over this next year to say, wow, I had a successful year?
Wow, what a great question, because we lead from the future, we act in the now, and we try to put the little steps together up the ladder to be able to achieve goals. So that really is part of goal setting. Now, in terms of what is it out here, that particular goal that I think would be realistic, I would love to find area directors to fill their roles within a reasonable period of time. I'm not sure what that process is. I've already began reaching out to some people asking, would they have an interest? And there's a lot of heads that are going this way as opposed to, sure, Bob, tell me more. So I don't know what's involved in terms of recruiting of area directors, but I would certainly love to have all areas filled and up and running and trained appropriately. And it would be a good goal to at least meet up with the area directors once in person, get to know everybody, get a team structure in place, and get prepared and have a good contest the first round through. I think if we can come away with a good contest, have all the area directors in place, the area directors up and running and visiting with the clubs and getting to at least the distinguished level, I would consider that a pretty good first year.
Okay. Thank you very much. And next up is going to be Division B, Mike. One of the areas that we've struggled with over the past years is getting club officers to training. What proposals would you do to increase the training percentages district-wide?
As an area director, as a board member for clubs over all my years as a Toastmaster, I truly do come away learning something different after every training session. And I think it's important that message is stressed to members who find it difficult to attend training. And I would always think about ways to further incentivize them to achieve their training. I think that the true nature of a Toastmaster in our membership is that we are all competitive at heart. You know, we are always looking to improve upon one another, but I think there's also deep down within us that, you know, we just like the idea of competing. So I think a great way to try and incentivize members, you know, division leaders, area directors, club leaders to attend their trainings would be to make a competition out of it somehow. And it could be something as simple as just some recognition. And I think that goes a long way with Toastmasters. So I would explore those avenues, but I think what I would do, though, first and foremost, is just stress to them that there is value to be had when you go to the trainings. You truly do learn something new every time, because Toastmaster, as we've seen the past 3 years, is evolving at a rate that it's never seen before, perpetuated by the pandemic. And so we are always looking for ways to improve the way we run meetings, especially in the hybrid format, which a lot of the clubs are trying to do. So that'd be my first step. You know, stressing the importance of attending these trainings because there is stuff to learn from. But then to further incentivize, I would look into maybe more of a competitive type situation. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. And next up is Division H, Ruth. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Nancy. This is your second year. This will be your second year as division director. What steps are you going to take to help find your successor, to encourage other people to run for Division H director next year?
Well, I've already started looking and asking, and I'm going to continue to do that. There are people that I believe that would be excellent division directors, and letting them understand the value of doing this job. You know, first of all, it's the salary and the benefits are just mind blowing. That's number one. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator. But that thing that's behind me that says this is where leaders are made, division director. I've learned so much in this position that I'm going to let them help them understand the value of being a division director beyond any, you know, like, why would you want to be a division director? And I would be very careful as to make sure why they wanted to be one, the responsibility of a division director and all those things, to make sure that they're truly on point, because I think that's what's missing sometimes. We don't give them the whole story. We give them bits and pieces. So my job is to make sure they understand what it looks like to be a division director. That's what I would be doing.
Thank you. And just one note, be careful when you joke about the salary, because some people actually do think we get paid. And I've had that conversation. It's like, well, you get paid for this? So
No.
always, when you're making a joke, make sure you know that the salary is zero, but it doubles every year.
Yes, I'll make sure they know that.
So I've learned that the hard way. So last in this round, it will be Division F, Chris Velasco. Okay, I had asked this earlier of the CGD candidates. Toastmasters, how would you attract a younger membership base for Toastmasters? What steps would you take?
Well, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I actually had this discussion with one of my clubs. They have a very low membership. They are situated in the perfect location next to the College of New Jersey. And taking some tips from some other clubs in other divisions, they went out to community, like their town day, where organizations set up a tent and they promoted Toastmasters. Well, I sat down with this club that was really struggling for members. It's a community club. And I said, have you ever thought about going on campus and, you know, pitching your club, especially to the sophomores and juniors that will be looking for internships? They're going to be going out for their interviews for grad school, etc. So I think we do need to really try and get the younger clients. I think community colleges are perfect because they too have to transfer in. They may need an interview. Why not start getting the 18-year-olds, the 19-year-olds fresh out of high school? They're starting, and give them that confidence. Give them the ability to sit down in an interview and look that interviewer in the eye, answer the question in a clear, concise manner, and wow them with their answers. So I would love to try and push a lot of the community clubs to look at community colleges and all the colleges that we have throughout New Jersey and Pennsylvania and try and get.
Okay, thank you. And so that ends round two. I believe I had all the candidates have answered 2 questions. Is that correct? Please stop me if I'm wrong. Okay, we're going to move into round 3. And I apologize if I start repeating questions. So if I ask you a question that I've already asked you, please stop me because I've been jumping around to keep this interesting. So first up is going to be Division D, Bob Rosenberg. Bob. Okay. Right. If you could change one thing about Toastmasters, and please stay away from pathways, since that's already been discussed, other than pathways, what is one thing you would change about Toastmasters if I gave you power for one day?
Thank you, but power for one day will not change Toastmasters. It's almost 100 years and Toastmasters changes slowly. But I would like to piggyback on Chris Velasco's answer a little bit. And you said, well, what can we do to reach the younger crowd, to embrace and bring in younger people into Toastmasters? One is this particular device is attached to them. So we need to figure out how to incorporate this particular device more as opposed to the laptop. And last year, all the rage was, if you were into crypto at all, was the metaverse. Metaverse this, metaverse that. I say gamify Toastmasters. Give them the goggles, give them the ear pads. Let them attend the club in the metaverse. Let's gamify it. You will see these young people getting together and discussing topics and having fun like you've never had. So in the future, I do think there'll be a metaverse for Toastmasters and those that want to improve their communication and leadership skills. Now, I know I'm going way out into the future here and one day is not going to get it done, but that is one idea. And the other idea, and I do like what Chris had said, is we need to find ways to just approach them in different places and help them realize the importance of actually putting this thing down and engaging face-to-face and eyeball to eyeball, particularly if they're going to want to have a successful interview and get the job of their dreams. I'll yield my time back.
Well, thank you very much. And next up is Division F, Chris Velasco. Okay, Chris. Let's just see. Let's ask you the same question. What is one thing you would change about Toastmasters, excluding pathways?
Excluding pathways. Okay. I've had quite a few clubs in my time that wished their high school students could join. They needed the confidence to make it through high school. It's very hard as a parent to watch your kids struggle with bullying, feeling inferior, and not having confidence just to make it through high school. So of course the parent is going to worry about them going off to college. If we could lower the age to 16, we could maybe have high school students gaining more confidence, getting their presentation skills down pat, learning how to get through table topics, again, helping with those college interviews later on. I really think a 16-year-old in a community club can do just as well as an adult. And I think it could be very rewarding for them. And some of the experienced mentors that are within these clubs, if they're a parent, I'm sure their heart is going to go out to that new member and really partner with them to build their confidence. So I would change the age down to 16.
Thank you. Okay, and Division H, Ruth Presley. Okay.
Thank you.
Let
Mr.
me ask you
Moderator.
what your thoughts are on going back to in-person training and in-person contests.
Okay. In-person training. I think that keeping it online gives better attendance. That's just my personal opinion. And those that want to go in person, there should be that option. There's an in-person training and there's a online training so that people have the option to do both. And the second part of your question was in-person meetings or
In-person contests.
in-person contests would be wonderful. One of the things that I would like to see streamlined is the process of the contest. And but that's another story. In-person contests would be absolutely great if we could do them. But also now that we're in this virtual world and we've been in here for almost 4 years now, we have people that live in Florida that are members of clubs in Philadelphia. So it would be navigating that piece of the contest as well, where we would probably end up having to be what we call now the hybrid to allow those people to compete, or they would not be able to compete if they're not locally a member. So that's what I would do. But training, whoever wants to go in person, I think they should have the option to do so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hugh.
Okay, and next up is Division G, Michelle. How would you encourage more memberships to engage in leadership roles throughout the district, and that don't necessarily limit that to area director, but also serve on some committees and take staff positions?
So encourage members to step into more leadership roles?
Yes.
Is that okay? Thank you, moderator. Much of what has been said tonight, it all comes back to developing your leadership skills, and you just need to put yourself out there. So however we can share that with folks, and it goes back to the DNA of the clubs, really, of what it's going to take. So I wish I had one Toastmaster pill that would light them all up, but it takes different things. And for years, I have been a huge committee proponent of maybe you don't want to take on a large leadership role and you don't have that opportunity for a long-term commitment, but hey, how about if you try this committee? So that is one way that you can get members involved. And again, at the area director level, they can get a sense of the clubs and what it is they like or what they need. But as the division director, I would want to get a pulse on who's seeking something like that. You can get a sense of who's kind of sort of there, but they're not ready, right? And giving them an opportunity to really shine. And I go back to several things that were said tonight, that you just need to put your hand out there and bring them up, and then they'll fly, and the next thing you know, they're holding someone else's hand. So I don't have one particular answer, but I think as Division G director, I would have to have my eyes open wider across that breadth of the area clubs to seek out who those folks might be and what we could do as a team to get members.
Okay, thank you. And next up is Brian in Division A. Let's take this not at the district level, but down to the club level. We all know certain clubs, they've had the same president for 3 or 4 years in a row because they haven't been able to find anybody else to take the job. What advice would you give the clubs to get more of the members involved in club leadership?
It's an excellent question. How to get club members involved who haven't. I think it actually relates to a lot of the things that we've been talking about tonight, other candidates have said, in just getting people interested in leadership across the board. You know, it's so easy when you join Toastmasters to focus on the presentation skills. And I think that's why most people join. But, you know, the leadership part has really surprised me in terms of the value that you get just by kind of ending up in some of those roles. And I think kind of demonstrating that value to people would help a lot. And I also think that the work that we can do to get people interested in some of these roles at the higher levels will help them want to get their feet wet at the club level. And I think we need to work harder to provide those opportunities at the area, division, and district levels, where, you know, we're in this habit of kind of scrambling at the last minute to fill these area director roles or, you know, other committee roles, things like that. And these are things that we really should be working on a year in advance to start developing that leadership and getting the pipeline built. So, you know, I've been trying to do that this year, and I think that's something we should all work a little bit more on, is finding those leaders, because they, you know, they do start to show themselves through the different things that they participate in. And if you can continue to encourage them and help them develop that, we end up with a pretty good list of candidates for any of these things. So I think you know, encouraging them to start at the club level, it's a great way to get going with that. And I think, you know, I've been talking about that in some speeches I've given around lately with, you know, why are you here? And really thinking about your experience as a Toastmaster.
Thank you. And Division C of DT, what can the district do? And by the district, you know, what can the district do to help support and strengthen clubs?
Thank you for that question, moderator. What can the district do to help and support clubs? Like I said, this year we were pretty surprised because I have been in this division for a while, like I said, and one particular club did not allow anybody to visit them. I already knew that because I was one of their area directors. And when somebody was actually able to visit, found out that there was things they could have learned before that now they're just learning. I don't know where the disconnect was, because one of the things I've found is like people are scared to let area directors come visit their clubs. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. So I'm hoping the district can find a way to actually let them know your area director is not a policeman, not a policewoman, not a police lady. They're not coming to police your club. We're only coming there maybe to even steal your ideas and take to our clubs, but we're coming there to be your friend, to learn more from you because you're Toastmasters and this platform is for learning. So if you're allowing us to come in and visit you, we're coming with our knowledge of what we have of Toastmasters from our club. Like I said, we might steal your ideas, but only if you visit our clubs will you know. So let us in. I hope the district can find a way to tell these clubs, we're only coming in there to be your friend, to encourage you in this Toastmasters journey. It's not easy walking it alone. So let us in. Let us be able to help you. We can only benefit from each other. That's my idea.
Okay, thank you. And the last question goes to Mike in Division B. So, you know, same question I had asked Bob earlier. So going 1 year from now, you're looking back at this year. What would make this year, your first year as division director, successful?
You can look at it through two different lenses. You know, you can look at it through statistics. I am a numbers guy at the end of the day. How your division ended up doing in terms of meeting their training requirements. Did they achieve distinguished status? You can go through all those buckets as well. But then there's the other side of the coin, which is, you know, when I came into this role, I had a certain feeling about how the position's starting. And then at the end of it, how did that feeling change? And I want that feeling to have changed in the sense that I left the division in a better place than that was inherited to me. And the way I get that is by knowing and seeing a progression of commitment and enthusiasm from my area directors. Because ultimately, I need to show that level of enthusiasm to them so that way they can pass that along to their clubs. And I intend to do that from the very first moment I step foot as division director in Division B. And come the end of it, if I see some clubs improve from year to this year, if I see some area directors show a willingness to want to take on a higher role this upcoming year afterwards, to me that tells me that, you know, I left the division in a better place that I got it in, and it just goes beyond the numbers. But I do also want to look at the numbers as well. I'm going to look at how the clubs fared with their distinguished statuses. I want to make sure that the trainings all improved from last year. Those are important at the end of the day. But even more important also is that feeling inside of accomplishment. And I want to be able to feel that if I could see that from my area and my clubs.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that, so it's 7:21. We don't have enough time for another full round, but I will give, and as all the division directors are running unopposed, I would like to give any of them an opportunity to answer a question that I posed somebody else. If you have an answer, like, whoa, I wish I would have asked that. He would have asked me that question. Does anybody have any answers they'd like to chime in?
What I'd like to say, Mr. Moderator, is that I am looking forward to in-person training and contests. I actually tried for round 2 this year to have an in-person, but it was too quick of a turnaround time and I couldn't secure a location or the people. But now that I know that I will be on for a second year, I'm starting now and I'm going to book a location so that round 1 training, Division F, will be in person.
Okay, thank you. And any other comments from any of the other candidates? Okay, well,
Yeah, I will, Joe.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the question, what one thing would you change? And I would change our image. I think a lot of people, as we all know, Toastmasters is kind of the best kept secret. And I think a lot of people who are aware of Toastmasters don't really know what we're about. They have an image of people kind of sitting around straight up in their chairs, listening to some boring speeches, when really we have a lot more fun, as we all know, going on in these meetings. And I think if we can project a more hip, value-oriented, fun environment, we will kind of sell ourselves, especially if we can really, let's get some snippets of some of these fun speeches that we hear and show us sitting around and, just relaxed listening to speeches, relaxed speaking, whatever. And let's get those little video snippets out on social media and yet let the younger crowd see that, hey, this isn't all work, because they don't want more work to do. They're so busy at jobs, Let's show them that it's actually entertainment as well. Entertainment with a lot of value. So that would be my idea. Let's change our image.
Okay. And any other candidates? Mike?
I just want to chime in and talk about reaching to the younger demographic real quick, because I would say that I probably am in that demographic currently. And I'll tell you what drew me into Toastmasters. I asked my brother-in-law the question, hey, should I get an MBA? And he said, I know someone who did Toastmasters in lieu of an MBA, and they got promoted just as quickly as someone with an MBA. Now, obviously, an MBA is great, and we shouldn't discourage people who want to pursue it. But I think we need to really harp on the value that is Toastmasters. Yes, our rates may be going up a little bit, but think about everything that we have gotten as members, and look at all these wonderful leadership opportunities that we're all find ourselves in positions today. I'll tell you right now, I actually just got recently promoted in my job a few weeks ago, and I credit that to the fact that I'm able to confidently speak in front of my company's CIO several times a month. And I really credit that to me having this forum and being a part of this wonderful community. And I think people of my demographic, they do want to better themselves, but they want to make sure that they're also not wasting their time. I hate to say it, but our time is so precious. Apparently, I don't know. But I really do think that every as much time I put into Toastmasters, I've gotten back in tenfold. So I think that should be the message, is really trying to harp on the value that is Toastmasters to the younger demographic. And I think it will help. Thank you.
Thanks. I see Ruth's hand is raised, and she will be the last person before we call this part of the meeting to end. So Ruth, it's all yours.
Okay. I just wanted to share, I'm doing a Speechcraft with Ann Golden, but anyway, the person who decided to do it said that she spent thousands of dollars getting trained as a speaker, and she learned more at Toastmasters than those thousands of dollars that she spent. And we need to get those messages out there, those testimonies out there, the value that Toastmasters brings. So that was my final word.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And let's give a round of applause to all the division director candidates. And yeah, I know this year, the best resources for division directors were the division directors themselves. They really, from my point of view, they supported each other well. And those of you who are repeating for a second year, I encourage you, bring Mike, Bob, and Michelle under your wings, and learn from the people who are doing that, because you will be each other's support, because the only people who understand what you're going through are the people who are going through it now. But thank you for all your effort over the year as the district leaders, and I hope you will continue to pursue your leadership. Why don't we take a short 3-minute break just to stretch our legs? This is a long night. And then we'll start back at 7:30 with the interview of the program quality director candidate. So take a short little break.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. 7:30, we're going to restart the recording. So for the next 15 minutes, we'll be talking to our program quality director candidate, Christopher Hulse. So Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start off with the number one question people have is, well, for program quality director, you have 3 main areas of responsibility. I call it the 3 C's: contest, club officer training, and conference. Number one question people have been asking is thoughts on going back to in-person training and in-person contest. What are your thoughts? And don't time him on this, because this could be a fairly long answer.
Well, thank you for that question, Mr. Moderator Joe Smith. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Well, I actually love the thought of going back to in-person club officer training and contest, because I became a Toastmaster in 2016. So it's kind of like going home. It's kind of like going back to what I knew first, because going virtual and everything like that was basically what we had to do when the pandemic came along, and we had to adjust. We're Toastmasters and that's what we do. But while I think it's important that we offer that, I think we are going to have to do some sort of hybrid model, because not only do we have a lot of us in the district who were around and absolutely enjoy in-person training and in-person contest, we also have basically promoted ourselves and brought in a lot of members that only know us as virtual. I heard somebody say that, there are some clubs in the district that have members that are located out of state. So if that's what we're going to do, I think that this is time we figure it out. So one thing that I know that we started doing, I think it was 2 years ago, as clubs started coming out of the pandemic, started meeting in person, it was really this almost grassroots effort to find out, so what clubs are meeting hybrid? Those that are meeting hybrid, how are they doing it? What kind of equipment are they using? What works well? What are the pitfalls? So I really think if this is where we're gonna go, we need to do it well. So maybe we get together, we find out what clubs do hybrid really well and how do they do it, you know, but have both kinds of offerings. Again, I would love to do what we did, how we, if I can remember correctly, we basically did like TLI North, TLI West, TLI Central, where we would go to maybe a college campus. I know for me, we met at Lehigh University. I think we also met at Penn State Lehigh Valley. So we can get a large classroom or large set of classrooms. And to me, the added benefit of that is meeting those people in person that you would never otherwise have met. I remember getting ideas from somebody in a club that I don't even remember what club it was. And I was just like, oh my God, you solved my problem. I have this problem and you gave me this idea. And I went back and it went over like, fireworks. And I think that would definitely help us, because I think us being virtual, even though we're meeting and it's easier to get in meetings, I think we still feel siloed. Probably a lot of us are tired of meeting virtually, and I know for me, I'm a people person. I thrive on getting to talk to people, share ideas, communicate, which is what our organization is all about. So I also think contests. I think a lot of people thrive on that. I've heard a lot of people say they won't compete, or they haven't competed in the last few years because it's virtual, because they thrive on the reaction of the audience, on seeing people's faces, on hearing the laughter, on seeing the, I mean, I'm going to say something that, may sound unpopular, but I think it's definitely true. I think a lot of us, when we do these virtual contests, there's something missing. I mean, it's okay. It gets the job done, but it's like going and seeing a comic virtually. It's just not the same. So I think in a way we need to go back to basics.
Thank you. And another common question people are asking is pathways. It's a sore subject, and it's one of the things that people have wanted to change about Toastmasters. But as program quality director, one of your responsibility is promoting pathways. How do you go about promoting pathways throughout the district?
I really think that we need to find those that are really knowledgeable in pathways and really enthusiastic about it. And again, I'm going to be blunt. There are probably a lot of people who were just clearly not enthusiastic about it. Even in, maybe they don't say it publicly, but it's hard to want to adopt a system when people are like, well, it's kind of clunky, it's kind of this. It is what we have. Although, correct me if I'm wrong, I did see that part of the $60 fee, membership fee, is that they're going to change somewhat of the system that Pathways is built on. So maybe that'll make it a little better. But hopefully in doing that, it'll be a somewhat easier system to navigate. But no matter what it is, I really think we have to have some ambassadors that are going to help us ride into the sunset with it, because that's what we need. We need really experts in pathways, because that's the other thing. Even though there are some of us who know pathways pretty well, I don't know that many of us are experts. So we really need like a go-to person, in the same way like we have a a contest advisor that's our go-to person whenever there's questions about that. But I think we need to have more than one pathways person, maybe a pathways ambassador per division, something like that, so that it may be more approachable and maybe more realistic too. Because I think that's sometimes the problem is if we have one person who might have all the answers in our district. Our district is basically about 150 clubs. That's a lot of people and a lot of clubs going to one person. So maybe try to get, maybe not, if we can't get every division, maybe pair them up and assign one person to divisions A and B and C and D and E and F and G and H, something like that.
And along those lines, how do you propose increasing member engagement? Like, I know, Paul Crone is one of these pathways, the office hours, and sometimes no one shows up. How do you go about increasing the members, not only learning about the information that it's there, but getting them to show up and invest that amount of time?
I think a lot of it is communication. They say the meaning of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. And sometimes that's what we do. And everybody's guilty of it. But we have to try different things that we either haven't tried before, or maybe it's been a while since we've tried them. I know a lot of us talk about technology and embracing newer technologies just to get the word out. And even if it's about something as simple as, hey, we're having office hours, or hey, there's this event going on, or, the conference is coming up, utilizing, what we have, which, for a lot of us is Facebook, but then going beyond that, there are other ways to communicate. There's Instagram, there's Snapchat, I'm sure there's other things out there that I don't even know about, but once we tap into the younger people in our district that not only know about these things, use those things. Canva. There's another thing that, again, I'm sure some of us may be experts on that and some are not. Maybe that's something that could help a lot of clubs. Maybe somebody in the district who's really good at Canva, I don't know, hold a class or a training session on here's how you do it. Here's how to utilize it. I know I was part of a club that talked about, the best way to grab young people's attention is things with QR codes. Just knowing things like that and being able to say, hey, this is what people do that are in this age group, and be able to communicate that, and then how to execute that, putting that into an online poster or putting that into an online forum. That's the thing about TikTok too. I use TikTok. Am I the best at knowing how to put the videos together? No. But if somebody showed me and took the time and we did that district wide, so that in essence, it would help us market our clubs and reach those people. And most importantly, answer your question, Joe, engage them, because you have to meet people where they are. And where I'm at is not where everybody else is at, especially the people that are going to be the future of our district.
Thank you. And over this past year, you've served as club growth director. What is one thing, the most surprising thing that you've learned over this past year that you didn't know going into the role and surprised you?
Well, I will say the biggest lesson I learned, and I'm going to utilize this if I'm lucky enough to become a program quality director, is time management. When you become a member of the trio, you are a voice to the district. And because of that, you do get a lot of emails. You are approached about a lot of things. And for most of us, not only do we have our roles in Toastmasters, whether we're a part of the trio or a division director or an area director, a lot of us have jobs, a lot of us have families, a lot of us have other responsibilities, taking care of our homes, that sort of thing. And you really do need to figure out how that all fits together in this big puzzle. Because yes, while we were joking earlier about how, we all get this big salary working for Toastmasters, it's still something that you are responsible for. And so with Club Growth Director, you do have a little bit of leeway with time management because people are reaching out to you, but because a lot of them work for companies and they're not always, these companies are not always about getting back to you right away and whatnot. You have to figure out the cadence of your communication from your end and also with people within the district. But I think that's going to be really important going into program quality director role, because look at the things I'm going to be responsible for. All of them are very time sensitive. We must do club officer training within a certain windows of time. Conference, same thing. You got to get ready for this conference. You got to ask people to help you in the conference. You need keynote speakers. You need people prepping and contests. We all know there's a cadence to the contest. It all comes up very quickly right after Christmas. We expect the clubs to hold their contest, which feed into the area, which feed into the division, which feed into the district. And there's a lot of questions that happen all throughout that. So it really is about staying on top of it and thinking about 4 steps ahead. And I try to do that as best I can with Club Growth Director, but I think I'm going to take the lessons I learned as Club Growth Director, and it's going to have to go on steroids as Program Quality Director. I'm already deciding how to kind of rearrange things in my life so that I have what I perceive as the maximum amount of time to be the best Program Quality Director I can be if I'm elected to this position.
Okay, thank you. And we have about a minute. Do you have any closing comments, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
I shared a lot of them already, but just to build on that, I think probably the other thing that I plan to do different, kind of building on what I learned as a Club Growth Director, is to start early and often in terms of meeting, in terms of help or asking people for help, because all of these district roles that we're all part of, we can't do them alone. Or if you're doing them alone, you're probably feeling like, yeah, this is a job that I should be getting paid more than this for. So that is my plan. I waited until July 1st to really start working on being Club Growth Director. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to start from the moment that I'm elected, start working on this. Because in order to be a success, you need as much time as possible. So I plan to use that to my advantage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's give Chris a round of applause. And next we will move to our final role, and that will be Division Director candidate. Excuse me, District Director candidate. And that is one of the things you learn is you always get them mixed up. You never really learn your position until you're done. Rhonda Young, so welcome. So you're going to be the CEO of the district. You're in charge. What do you believe is the biggest challenge facing District 38, and how do you plan to address those challenges? And we don't need the time, Rhonda.
Oh, great. I am a DTM. Don't time me. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be before you today to plead my case why you should vote for me as your district director. Joe, there are numerous challenges that are facing our district, and our district is no different than almost any other district in Toastmasters International or any other organization that's a nonprofit that's servicing others for that matter. There are numerous things that we could prioritize, but the one that just continues to resonate with me when I think about what my contribution to our district would be for 2023 to 2024 would be accountability. would be commitment. I can't do it alone. You said that I'm the boss. I'm the boss of whom? Right? Honestly, I don't see myself as the boss because I can't give you a lot of incentives. I can share with you my perspective. I can give you a sip of the Toastmasters Kool-Aid, but I can't make you drink it. I can't make you enjoy it. And I can't make you to come back to the well unless there's some intrinsic value that each of you who are also pleading your case as leaders and all of our members have regarding their own personal and professional development. So my role is to be the face of our district, but more importantly, to hold up a mirror to each of our District 38 members, existing, past, and potential, to show them that they are not just the person that they see in the mirror, that they can be bigger, they can aspire higher. And that's what I want us to do. I want us to elevate. I want us to get to that next level, whatever that level should be. And that's not just, yes, I want us to level up through the challenge that we had this year, but I want us to reap the benefit. I want us to have the culmination, reach the fruition of our dreams. For me, my role will also be a developmental opportunity for me to be even more deliberate and also somewhat more docile in my leadership style. I look forward to developing, and hopefully I can lead by example. I remember when I was a newly minted club president and I was leading by example and I was very enthusiastic. And I said, oh, I'll enter the contest because I would never enter the contest. And I won at the club level and the area level and the division level. And I got all the way to district. And for me, that was a great way to show my club members how I overcame a fear of public speaking that almost rivaled my fear of cats. So again, you're asking me about the district and how will I do some things differently and how will I get people. I just want us all to tap into what brought us here, what we could be, and to lay out the pathway, pun intended, for us to get there.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, as district director, you're also on the trio, have the program quality director and the club growth director. And from experience, there's lots of disagreements between the top three, where you may see something differently than the other two. And, you know you're right, they think they're right. How do you handle that situation?
I am fortunate, and if I could tap into people's spirituality, to say blessed, to have been on a trio for 2 years where we had very minimal disagreements. Sure, we have difference of opinions, but do we just flat out fight? Absolutely not. And I think I have been, again, fortunate and blessed to be elected during a time that I worked with groups and teams that were very mature, very cooperative, very collaborative. And at the forefront of all that we did was the district's health, the health of our officers, the health of our clubs and members. I don't really think too many people were self-serving or self-aggrandizing. We relished in being able to contribute and help one another in helping the district. But if there comes a time when there's a disagreement, I will take all efforts to put the person who's disagreeing in a headlock. Okay, I'm joking. We'll talk it out. We'll work it out. I mean, again, we are all mature. I would absolutely love to have anyone who I've heard from tonight on the team. And I can't imagine any of them, because I know most of them personally, I can't imagine anyone, going so far in a different direction than our team is trying to walk into. So again, we'll have the district success plan. We'll go through that exercise because I think it's healthy for us to pre-plan how we are going to handle conflict and difficulties and challenges. And we have that as a referenceable document that is neutral, that is reflective of all of us, right? So we'll go back to that and go through the process of resolving the conflict.
Okay, thank you. And this district was very lucky or blessed to have all 8 division director and all the trio members spots filled for election. Other districts are not that lucky. And I don't want to use the word lucky because it's something that's developed over the past 5, 7, as much as I like to take credit for it, it's something that started way before I started, but it started at the club level. How can you, your ideas on encouraging people to take leadership at the club officer, which 3-5 years from now will result in them being district leaders. So how do you get people excited about being club officers?
Well, one of the things that we have teed up for this year's conference is to have a district career fair, right? So we want to pull back the veil of the opportunities that exist outside of the club and give people a preview of what they can aspire to. Some people don't have opportunities for leadership in their companies, frankly, at home, or other civic organizations. So they have the opportunity here, and we want to avail that to them. So we want to be able to show them what they could be so that they know how to govern themselves to get to that point in time. So it's all about creating the pipeline, creating the opportunities, and making it available to all of our members district-wide. For some reason, we have a challenge with communication, and it's not always the sender. Sometimes it's the receiver. So I have to be very mindful and forthright with that. We can do everything right, but if people are not receiving the information, if they're not checking email or checking the newsletter, going to social media, it's for naught. And we want to encourage people to salivate over the information that we have harvested and cultivated for them. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that. So we want to make sure that people are getting the information, that they know what's available, how they can get to their next level of being and reach their full potential. I think without that, we'll just continue to spin our wheels. So again, my main focus this year will be on the district career fair, and then we'll try to have some offshoots of that throughout the year.
Okay, thank you. And then the next, maybe a little controversial, but the budget. For years, the district has had a surplus of funds, and we still are doing well with the budget, but it's nowhere near as much as it was due to several factors, which I'm not going to get into. Where do you see prioritizing funds in the budget for this year?
I don't have all the answers, Joe. I really don't. And I will rely on the trio members as well as the district executive council to help us direct where money should be spent. Again, some people who are closer to the clubs, multiple clubs, that may have their finger on the pulse more than I do. So I can't tell you specifically where the money should go, but obviously training is key. And I think we've done, if I can say so, over the last several years, I think we've done a bank up job with training. So if there's a need for people to be in person, let's put some of the money there. Again, I don't want us to spend, I'm very spendthrift and I'm very conscientious of other people's money. So I don't want us to have these big elaborate trainings if no one shows up, or these big elaborate events if we're getting half of the RSVPs coming in person. So there's going to be a delicate balance, and we may crawl before we walk, before we run, before we fly. So in other words, there may be a progressive use of our funds as we kind of test and see where people are in their lives with their time availability and their ability to show up.
Okay, and then last question, and I'll give you a chance to make a closing statement. But 1 year from now, or July 1st, 2024, looking back on this past year, what would define your year as successful?
My year would be successful if we had more engagement, and that comes in multiple forms. Something as simple as the open rate on our newsletter, or the responsiveness or the click-through rate on our website, or getting fewer questions where the answers have already been teed up or already encapsulated and documented in a communication. It is people getting to different levels within pathways. And I'm not just talking about DCP. This is irrespective of the criteria and the KPIs or key performance indicators that Toastmasters impose upon us and that we generally use for quantifiable measures of success. I'm talking about the intangibles, people feeling good about coming to Toastmasters. They are feeling good about their leadership. They're feeling good about their club and the programming that they get. These things, we can't always measure that, but we hear it anecdotally. There's usually a buzz. So as long as we can create the sense of community, people feel that we're operating in their best interest and they're getting something out of their membership. And not just membership with Toastmasters, but specifically with regard to District 38, then I am a happy camper. It would be great to be distinguished, but absent of that, I'll take someone saying we're distinguished, because that's the feeling that they emote when they think about the value in being a member of District 38 versus just in the numbers in the DCP program.
Okay, thank you. And in the minute or so we have remaining, would any closing statements, comments, thoughts?
Sure. I just want us to think about this. My challenge to each of you when you all are elected is to move like ants. And if you've ever studied ants, you know, ants form a colony and they're very plentiful. And what I really like about ants is that everyone has a job. There are some that take care of the babies. There are some that just go out and scavenge for food and bring it back to the colony. And believe it or not, there's others that will go and start new colonies. Each ant is accountable. They know their role. They are responsible for doing their role. And in most cases, absent of something catastrophic, the colony's success is already predetermined. They can't fail when people are empowered to do their job, to know their job, and that they are accountable for doing it. We all should operate that way. I know we all have competing interests, family commitments, but we are all here willingly and willfully because we want to better ourselves and we want to lend that to other people. I hope that we all can move like ants, that we can guarantee the success of District 38.
Thank you. Let's give Rhonda a round of applause. Well, that concludes the candidate showcase. I would like to, thank Susan Smith, who acted as the timer, and Christine Wilson, who acted as the Zoom master. Again, if you have not registered and you're a member of the district council, please register by this Thursday and attend the district council. This is where we're going to vote on the incoming leadership who's going to take Toastmasters District 38 through the 2023-2024 year. Paula, did you want to add anything? So, okay. At this time, I will call this to an end. We can stop recording. This recording will be shared most likely tomorrow once it's had a chance to process. But thank you everyone for making time tonight.